Most people think of protein shakes as a shortcut to better health, a clean, powerful way to build muscle, recover faster, or replace a meal. But what if I told you that many popular protein powders and shakes actually contain measurable amounts of lead and other toxic metals? It's a claim backed by real studies, not internet rumors. Today, let's take a deep, honest look at how we got here, what the data really says, and what you can do to protect yourself. The story of protein powder actually starts centuries ago. The earliest version of it was whey, the liquid left over from cheese making. Even Hippocrates, the ancient Greek physician, was said to prescribe whey for its supposed health benefits. In the 1800s, scientists began studying protein as a vital nutrient. A German chemist named Justus von Liebig even created a concentrated meat extract that he thought could fuel the human body more efficiently. By the early 1900s, powdered milk and dried protein formulas appeared, marketed for infants and the sick. Then came the bodybuilding boom of the mid 20th century. Fitness icons like Eugene Sandow and later legends from the 1950s and 60s popularized protein as the secret to strength and recovery. The supplement industry took off, and as processing technology improved, so did marketing. By the 1980s, you could find tubs of whey, soy, and casein powders in every gym. Fast forward to today, protein supplements are a multi-billion-dollar industry sold not just to athletes, but to everyday people chasing health and convenience. But while the popularity exploded, so did questions about what's really in those shakes. Independent tests and scientific reviews have repeatedly found that some protein powders contain concerning amounts of lead, arsenic, cadmium, and mercury. The nonprofit Clean Label Project tested dozens of powders and reported that nearly half contained detectable heavy metals, and many exceeded recommended safety limits. Even more surprising, organic and plant based options sometimes tested worse than conventional ones. Plant proteins like pea, rice, hemp, and soy often show higher lead levels than whey or collagen. Chocolate flavored versions tend to contain even more, likely because cocoa naturally absorbs metals from soil. Harvard researchers reviewed more than 100 protein supplements and found similar contamination patterns. A 2025 Consumer Reports investigation confirmed that over two-thirds of the powders they tested contain more lead in a single serving than what's considered safe by California's Proposition 65 standards. So, why does this happen? The explanation starts in the soil. Heavy metals like lead and cadmium exist naturally in the Earth's crust, but industrial pollution, fertilizer use, and contaminated irrigation water increase their concentration. Plants absorb these metals through their roots, which means if the soil or water is tainted, so is the crop. That's why pea, rice, and hemp proteins, all plant based, can carry residues of lead or arsenic even when grown organically. Animals can also ingest small amounts of heavy metals through contaminated feed or water, which means whey proteins from dairy aren't completely immune either. During processing, metals can also enter the picture through manufacturing equipment, pipes, or even flavor additives. Chocolate, for example, often contributes extra lead and cadmium. Because supplement regulations are looser than those for food or medicine, there's no requirement for routine heavy metal testing before products reach store shelves. Now, let's talk about why lead contamination matters. Lead is a neurotoxin. There is no safe level of exposure, especially for children and pregnant women. Once it enters the body, it can accumulate in bones and soft tissue, interfering with the nervous system, blood production, and kidney function. Chronic exposure can lead to fatigue, headaches, cognitive decline, and anemia. In adults, even small daily doses over time can elevate blood pressure and increase cardiovascular risk. What makes lid particularly dangerous is its persistence. It doesn't just leave the body quickly. So, someone who consumes protein shakes daily for years could unknowingly build up measurable levels in their bloodstream. Researchers have debated how much risk an average serving of protein powder actually poses. Some analyses suggest that occasional use likely stays below toxic thresholds, but the danger increases with frequency, dosage, and duration. Think of it this way: one serving might not harm you today, but hundreds of servings over months and years can quietly accumulate in the body. That's why awareness and moderation are key. So, what can you do if you rely on protein supplements? The first step is to prioritize whole foods. Eggs, fish, lean meats, lentils, beans, and dairy already provide all the protein most people need. Supplements should fill gaps, not become the foundation of your diet. When you do choose a powder or shake, look for brands that submit to independent testing. Certifications like NSF, USP, or Informed Choice indicate third party verification for purity and heavy metal screening. Some companies publish full lab results for every batch. That's a great sign. If a brand hides behind vague claims like tested for quality, that's a red flag. Whey and collagen proteins generally test cleaner than many plant based ones, though it varies by brand. Be cautious with chocolate flavors, which tend to contain more heavy metals. And don't assume organic means safe. In some tests, organic powders had 3 times more lead than conventional versions because the soil they were grown in contained natural contaminants. If you use protein powder regularly, rotate between different brands and types to reduce the chance of long term exposure from one contaminated source. You can also watch for Proposition 65 warnings on labels. California law requires manufacturers to disclose when a product contains chemicals known to cause cancer or reproductive harm, including lead. Seeing that warning doesn't automatically mean a product is unsafe, but it should prompt you to do a little more research before buying. If you've been drinking protein shakes daily for years, you might consider asking your doctor for a simple blood test to check for lead levels. It's a precautionary step, but for heavy users, it can provide peace of mind. And if you ever feel sluggish, mentally foggy, or notice unexplained health issues, remember that environmental toxins often show subtle effects before obvious ones. It's worth remembering that the supplement industry isn't held to the same pre market safety testing as pharmaceuticals. In the United States, manufacturers are largely responsible for their own quality control. The FDA can take action only after a product is proven unsafe. That means the burden of caution falls on consumers. Transparency and independent verification are your best defense. When you step back, this issue isn't just about protein powders, it's about how we've outsourced health to convenience. We've created a culture that prizes instant nutrition, but sometimes forgets that even healthy products can hide real risks. Lead contamination isn't intentional, but it's a consequence of global supply chains, industrial farming, and minimal oversight. The solution lies in awareness, regulation, and making smarter choices. So here's the takeaway. Yes, some protein powders and shakes contain lead and other heavy metals. No, it doesn't mean you have to throw away every supplement in your kitchen, but it does mean you should be thoughtful. Buy from transparent brands. Use moderation. Get your nutrients from real food whenever possible. And remember, long term health isn't built on shortcuts, it's built on consistency and knowledge. Protein powder has come a long way from the days of ancient whey tonics and early bodybuilding formulas, but with that evolution comes responsibility. As consumers, we deserve honesty about what's in the products we use to stay healthy. As an industry, supplement makers owe the public clear labeling and rigorous testing. Until that becomes the standard, the best thing you can do is stay informed and make each choice count. Thanks for watching and take care of your health because real strength comes from knowing what you're putting into your body.